Alright guys, as we are now heading into an FA Cup weekend, I thought now would be a timely point of the season to check in on the bookies' updated predictions for the end of the season. Now, the last time we did one of these videos was during the November international break, so as you can imagine, quite a bit has changed in the bookies market since that point, all of which will be discussed in today's video. I'd like to hear from you in the comments down below who are your favourites to go up and down right now. But without any further ado, let's jump in. So unsurprisingly, coming in at the bottom of the table, it is Plymouth Argyle with relegation odds of 1 to 12 right now. Going off the bookies odds, they are by far and away the most likely side to be relegated this season, and that's a fall of one place since we last checked in on the bookies odds back in November. Now, as of recording, Plymouth are on the longest winless run of any championship club. It's 11 games without a win for Plymouth. Listen, we may see an upturn in form with Wayne Rooney no longer there. Whoever the new manager is that's going to come in, maybe he's able to get that reaction out of this squad, but it feels like quite a bit is needed in January to pull them out of this situation. With relegation odds of 5 to 4, we've then got Portsmouth, who have actually moved up one place in this table since November, but still going down according to the bookies. Now, in real life, Portsmouth currently sit just outside the relegation zone on goal difference. They're on 23 points, but that goal difference of -11 is just keeping their head above water right now. They've definitely been a lot more proactive at picking up points, especially at Fratton Park of late. It's just that away form, which is a question of whether or not they'll be able to beat the drop this season, but the bookies thinks they may just fall short. Now, this is a fairly big call from the bookies, but Oxford are down in 22nd place, despite being 5 points clear of the relegation zone in real life. Now, had we done this video a few weeks ago, I don't think anyone would have had many grumblings about putting Oxford in the bottom three. They've been on a really bad run of form towards the end of Des Buckingham's tenure there, but since the arrival of Gary Rowett, what a run it's been for Oxford. 3 consecutive wins and then a draw over the weekend against Preston North End. He's really made them into a solid outfit. While I didn't think Oxford were brilliant by any means over the weekend against Preston, they made that game difficult, obviously took their chance when it came along, and that's what Gary Rowett sides do, and as long as they do finish above that dotted line this season, they'll have met their objective. Now, in terms of chance creation and some of the other underlying stats so far this season, Oxford have been one of the weaker sides in the league. For XG, for example, only Plymouth have accumulated a lower XG up until this point of the season than Oxford have, but that bit of X factor and experience and championship know-how that Gary Rowett gives them, I think quite a few people will be tipping them to survive this season, but the bookies think they'll just fall short. And just avoiding the bottom three, according to the bookies, it will be Cardiff. They've got relegation odds of 15 to 8 right now. Now, this is a fall of 2 places from the last time we did one of these videos, but the bookies still just about having Cardiff to survive by the skin of their teeth. Wins have been in quite short supply for Cardiff this season. They've only won one of their last 12 championship matches. Have had a decent unbeaten run recently. They're unbeaten in their last 3, but that lack of wins this season definitely puts them amongst the relegation favourites right now, and I still think there are some question marks long term over whether or not Omar Reitz is the right person to take them forward. Coming in 20th place, the bookies have Hull City with relegation odds of 2 to 1. That's a fall of 2 places since the November international break in this table. I think we have seen an uptrend of results from Hull City, seen by that bonkers result over the weekend when they got back into that game against Leeds and levelled it out at 3-3. It does feel like there will be a bit of backing there in January as well, perhaps with a bit of money being spent to go ahead and improve that squad. If that's the case, I reckon they'll probably get over the line this season, but they're definitely still amongst this relegation mix, aren't they? Coming in 19th place, the bookies have Stoke City. That's a fall of 3 places from the November international break. They've got relegation odds of 7 to 2. Now, the appointment of Mark Robins, I think he's quite a sensible one. Obviously, a lot of Championship fans, big fans of Mark Robins after the work he did at Coventry. Listen, Stoke have been a mess this season. Any Championship club that's going into January on their 3rd manager of this season isn't a very well-run club behind the scenes. I think that Stoke will accept they've made quite a few missteps throughout this season, whether that was giving a full pre-season to Stephen Schumacher only to sack him a few months into the season, hiring Narcic Pelac, which turned out to be a bit of a disaster disaster. They've tried to rectify that now with Robbins. Still a lot of chaos behind the scenes, but with Robbins at the helm, you'd imagine he'd be able to steer them clear of danger. Now, Luton are a really interesting one to talk over. The bookies have them to finish 18th this season with relegation odds of 4-1. I mean, we can see just how far they've fallen in this table. At the start of the season, they were one of the promotion favourites, and as of recording right now, Sky Bet aren't even offering promotion odds for Luton because they've been that far off the pace this season. They've obviously still got a game to come tonight against QPR, which could influence these odds ever so slightly, but make no mistake about it, Luton are in a relegation battle right now with how awful they've been on the road all season. You know, we're talking about a club here who have lost their last 9 consecutive matches away from home, which is disastrously bad. Obviously, for good reason, Rob Edwards had a lot of credit in the bank coming into this season, but I mean, I've been amazed that the club haven't made a change there with how far off the pace they've actually been, but the bookies are still fairly relaxed on their overall odds for relegation at 4-1 right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if those odds shorten if this tragic run of form continues for much longer. Now, one of the biggest overall rises since the November international break has actually been QPR. They've been lifted 5 places in this table since we last did one of these videos, now with relegation odds of 11-2. It's been a good run of form from QPR from sort of November up until this point. Obviously a really slow start to the season, but their faith in Marti Cifuentes I think has been vindicated. Obviously they've got that game to come tonight against Luton as well. Don't think they'll be going down this season. I think they'll definitely be looking more up the table than down it from this point onward. Now in 16th, the bookies have Derby. It's been a bit of a frustrating run for them recently. They've only won 2 of their last 11 championship matches. They've actually been bumped up 1 place since the November international break. Do have promotion odds of 250-1, relegation odds of 15-2 as of recording. The objective for Derby this season was always going to be survival. Right now, the points they're averaging, just over 1 point per game, they're on track to go ahead and match that. But yeah, it's not been a great run of form recently, and they're definitely in danger of being dragged into a bit of a scrap in the second half of the season. A fairly big riser since the last international break is my club, Preston North End. We've also got promotion odds of 250-1, relegation odds of 9-1. Nice to see Preston sort of pulling away from this relegation battle in recent weeks. While wins have been fairly hard to come by for North End all season, you know, we've only won 6 of our 26 matches so far. We've also made ourselves pretty tough to beat as well. We've become the draw kings, I guess you could call us, of the Championship, along with West Brom. 12 draws already for Preston this season, which is absolutely mental. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely still a lot of frustrations, and there are a lot of areas of this squad which need to be improved. Whether those positions will be addressed in January or the summer, we'll have to wait and see. But I do think Paul Heckingbottom is getting more out of this squad as the weeks go by. He's learning more about the team as well, and at Deepdale especially, he's made us a tough team to beat. Now in 14th place, the bookies have Millwall. They've dropped by 7 places in this table since the last November international break. Now during that time, Millwall were on a really good run of form under Neil Harris. It felt like he'd found the perfect formula to get them kicking and into playoff contention, but since that point it's not quite been smooth sailing for Millwall. Obviously we had the surprise departure of Neil Harris. The club was sort of debating who to replace him with for a few weeks, and eventually they've landed on Alex Neil. Promotion odds of 66-1, relegation odds of 22-1. I think most people would have Millwall down for a mid-table finish this season, and that's exactly how the bookies see it as well. 13th in this table, the bookies have Coventry. Promotion odds of 33-1, relegation odds of 40-1. That is a fall of 2 places from the last international break, obviously now with Frank Lampard in charge. Before a ball had been kicked, Coventry were one of the promotion favourites for this season. Most people had them predicted to finish in the top 6. The bookies had them as one of the 6 sides that were most likely to be promoted at the start of the season. Things haven't quite transpired that way for Coventry. There's been a lot of inconsistency about their campaign so far, and despite them actually being close to the top of the table in a lot of quite important and key underlying statistics such as chance creation, XG and things like that. They've just not been able to get enough consistent results over the line this season, and over the weekend losing that game late on against Norwich was sort of a prime example of that. Flat bang in the middle of the table, the bookies have Swansea. That's exactly where they are in real life right now. The bookies have them down with promotion odds of 28 to 1, relegation odds of 80 to 1. That is a bump up of one place from the November international break last time. Have to admit, I'm definitely more up on Swansea right now than I was at the start of the season, thinking my predictions I had them to finish sort of lower mid-table. Right now I definitely have them more in that upper quadrant. Whether or not they have enough to properly sustain a playoff push for this second half of the season though, I'm not so sure. They're currently 6 points adrift right now. Swansea fans, what do you feel like is needed in this January window if you were to push for the playoffs in this second half of the campaign? Similar sort of story with Sheffield Wednesday right now. They're 11th in the bookies' end of season predictions with promotion odds of 25 to 1. That is a rise of 3 places from the last November international break. As of recording, there's only 3 points between Wednesday and the top 6. It doesn't quite feel like that squad is fully there in terms of squad quality to maybe sustain that proper push for the top 6, but it feels fairly open now with those last couple of places in the playoffs, so I'm definitely not ruling out a Sheffield Wednesday or a side like that from competing. 10th in the bookies table, they've got Watford, also with promotion odds of 25 to 1 and relegation odds of 150 to 1. Now Watford have fallen by 2 places since the last November international break. They have been on a little bit of a sticky run recently. It's 3 consecutive losses for Tom Cleverley's side, 4 losses now in their last 5 matches. They have fallen out of the top 6 as a result of that, but still only 3 points between themselves and West Brom, who occupy that spot in 6 at the moment. If I had to call the top 6 right now, I don't think I would have Watford in there, but they're definitely still within touching distance of it, so if they have a good January window, you can't rule them out. In 9th place, we've got Bristol City, promotion odds of 18 to 1, relegation odds of 250 to 1. Now, funnily enough, Bristol City haven't moved in this table whatsoever since the last November international break. Now, Bristol City have been on a decent run of form recently, unbeaten in their last 4 matches. They've won 3 of their last 4, only 3 points away from the top 6 right now. I do get similar vibes off Bristol City though with the likes of Watford, Sheffield Wednesday, Swansea, where I do question whether or not that squad is strong enough to properly challenge in this second half of the season, but got themselves in a really good position to attack the top 6 in this second half of the campaign, so we'll have to wait and see. The bookies have them to just finish outside. I think that's probably where I'd have them at the moment. Now, I think most of us would have to admit Blackburn have been one of the surprise packages of this season. They were one of the most tipped side to go down before a ball had been kicked, and now the bookies aren't even offering relegation odds on them because they're so far clear of the bottom 3. They've got promotion odds of 12 to 1. That is a rise of 2 places from the last international break. Not the best run of form from Blackburn recently. Obviously, they lost that crunch match against Burnley last time out. I think it's 5 now without a win for John Eustace's side. But crucially, there's only 1 point between themselves and the top 6, so they're still in a decent position to go for it. But tipped just to fall short of the top 6 this season, it's Norwich City. Now, interestingly, despite Norwich sitting behind the likes of Sheffield Wednesday, Watford, Bristol City and Blackburn in the league right now, they've actually got shorter promotion odds at 11 to 1 right now, going off the bookies odds, and that's a rise of 5 places from the last international break in November. I do think Norwich at their best probably do have a little bit more about them than the likes of Blackburn, Bristol City, Watford, Sheffield Wednesday, but whether or not they've got the same consistency as those sides, I'm not so sure either. But it does mean that the top 6 in terms of the bookies predictions haven't changed whatsoever from last time. In 6th place, the bookies have West Brom. That's exactly where they were during the November international break with promotion odds of 13 to 2 right now. Definitely a bit less confident in West Brom being promoted this season after the loss of Carlos Corberan, but I still think there's enough quality in that squad if they do get this next appointment right, where I probably would still fancy them to finish in the top 6. I think bar for challenging in the top 6 this season isn't incredibly high. I don't think the threshold will be massively high in terms of points to finish 6th this season either, and for that reason I think West Brom are probably still in a decent position to finish in there. In 5th place the bookies have Middlesbrough. That is a fall of 1 place from last time. They've got Middlesbrough down with promotion odds of 11-4 right now. Now Borough are on a decent unbeaten run. They've just been quite draw heavy recently, which has been a bit of a frustration for Michael Carrick, I'm sure. Following their draw against Cardiff last time out, they've now drawn 4 of their last 5 championship matches, so they're not losing a lot of games right now. They're just not quite winning enough to bridge that gap between themselves and those sides in the top 4. And it does feel like the teams in the top 4 have pulled clear of the rest of the pack this season. You know, Sunderland currently have a 9-point gap between themselves and Middlesbrough. They are next up in this table with promotion odds of 6-4, which is actually a fall of 1 place from last time. Sunderland, the bookies had them in 3rd during the last November international break. Sunderland definitely can't be ruled out right now. There's only 2 points separating them from both Sheffield United and Burnley, and only 3 points separating them from Leeds as well. They've only lost 4 of their 26 matches this season. It was a big win for them over the weekend against Portsmouth, making it back-to-back wins for Reggie Lebreese's side. But based on the bookies and where the money's currently going, they think Sunderland may just fall short. Now this is where things get really tight in the battle for promotion, and between these next 3 clubs there's not a great deal in it in terms of the odds either, but the bookies have got Sheffield United outside of the top 2. That's a fall of 1 place from the last November international break, currently with promotion odds of 10-11. Now what's interesting about Sheffield United is technically they have been the best team in the league so far this season. If we discount that 2-point deduction that they were hit with at the start of the season, the Blades have technically picked up 54 points from their opening 26 matches, which is more than any other club has managed this season. Obviously, by virtue of that point deduction, they are 3rd in the table right now, and that's where the bookies have them to finish. Honestly, I really don't think there's much between Sheffield United, Burnley and Leeds, and I think this January window will be quite decisive in where all of those 3 clubs finish. Obviously, injuries have really hit the Blades of late, which has been seen by some of their recent results, but if they have a good January window, I could definitely see them finishing in the top 2. But on the back of their excellent form recently, the bookies have bumped Burnley up to 2nd place in the place of Sheffield United. They've actually risen by 3 places since the last November international break. As of recording, Burnley are on the longest unbeaten run of any championship club. They've not lost in their last 13 league matches. Brilliant result for them last time out in that local derby against Blackburn Rovers. And I mean, listen, say what you like about Scott Parker and his football not always being the most enthralling, but this is what he does in the Championship. He takes over good teams, gets them performing to a level where they don't concede that many chances, and more often than not, they win those tight marginal games, don't they? Defensively, Burnley have been by far the best team in the Championship so far this season, having only conceded 9 goals in their opening 26 league matches, which is an absolute joke. Yeah, it's no surprise the bookies have them in the top 2 right now. But still coming in as the promotion favourites based on the bookies odds, it is Leeds United with promotion odds as short as 1-16 right now. That's not a change whatsoever since the November international break. I think since the ball was first kicked this season, Leeds have always been the promotion favourites. Now they do sit top of the tree going into this sort of FA Cup break, if you will, right now, albeit not with the best feeling probably behind them on the back of consecutive draws, and especially how that game against Hull City unfolded last time. Now, statistically, Leeds have been the best team in the league in a lot of those crucial underlying stats so far this season. The only thing that it feels like could stump Leeds this season is silly individual mistakes, and we saw that a little bit towards the back end of last season, and it feels like at times of late maybe those have started to seep into their game as well. Obviously, away form, something that's been discussed with Leeds quite a bit throughout the season. It felt like they got that monkey off their back when they had those 2 back-to-back wins on the road over that festive period, but that 3-3 draw against Hull maybe has got a few nerves jangling a little bit. But in saying that, I think Leeds have still been one of the best sides in the Championship this season. They will continue to score a lot of goals, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were to strengthen in the January window either. But there you guys have it. As of recording, those are the promotion favourites and relegation favourites based on the latest bookmakers odds. As always, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Who are your favourites to go up and down this season? Do you agree where the bookies currently have your team to finish? Let me know in the comments down below. But apart from apart from that, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.